of our phenomenal viewers, listeners, and supporters. I'm your host, Mary, and I'm excited to be here. If you're new, welcome to Connected, where we discuss all things mental health recovery, employment, and stories. Today, our guest is a Bay Area native who's lived from Fremont to Pittsburgh. He has much life experience to bring to his work, including years spent at Victory Outreach. He's now a lead peer counselor at PCC. Welcome to Connected, Curtis.
Thank you, Mary, for having me. I'm excited to be here, everyone.
That's great. So tell me, what is a peer counselor at PCC?
And so a peer counselor at PCC is someone who is able to relate to some of the members that we have that come into our centers. We are able to meet them right where they are and make them feel included and feel a part of our center. It's someone who has lived experiences. It's hard to speak and be a part of somebody's life if you've never gone through something that they've been through or something familiar or similar to what they've gone through.
Hard to be empathetic if you're too different. So tell me, you grew up in the Bay Area. Where did you go to high school, and what was that like for you?
And so I went to high school, Pittsburgh High, and that was it had its number of challenges because of some of the different temptations that came with being in high school, from girls to running with the wrong crowds. It was exciting in the beginning, but to be honest with you, along the way, I made a bunch of bad decisions, which I believe a lot of young people around my age at that time did. You know what I mean?
Honey, young people in any era tend to. That's part of being young, I'm afraid. Yeah. We all did that. I don't want to talk about. Anyway, we're not here to talk about mine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in high school, the wrong crowd. What were you hanging around with? Hot rodders, or did you fall into the drug crowd, or what happened?
I did. I got involved with the gangs. We called ourselves starting our own gang. At that time, it was called Fan Mob. And it was just a clique of us who had went to school. We've been friends since junior high school. And now we were all old enough and big enough to be a part of what we called a gang. And then I did get caught up in the drug sales, where I figured, I wanted to have money, you know what I mean? And coming from a family where I didn't have a lot of money, I wanted to be able to be a little independent on my own and make my own money. So I figured the fastest way that I can do that was to sell drugs. I had friends of mine who were doing it, and so it was really easy for me to kind of step into that scene.
So did you start selling before you started using?
Oh, yeah. Way before I started using, I started selling. Matter of fact, okay, I won't say that, because I was smoking weed before I was selling weed, but I started selling dope, methamphetamines, long before I started using methamphetamines.
Oh, that kind of makes sense, because those tend to make you so disorganized you don't tend to be good at business.
At all.
At all, yeah.
At all, yeah.
So that was your high school years. You were doing that, starting to make some money. And what was your home life like?
To be honest with you, it wasn't the best. At that time, man, I was really coming into myself. I'm a young man. My hormones was all over the place. And, I'm chasing women all over town. At that time,
I can understand that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at that time, I called myself having girlfriends, and I would spend hours, back then, I don't know if it's good to say, but chasing a cat, they would call it, right? Yeah. I would spend hours chasing it, and my father would always tell me, come home on time after school. But normally, I wouldn't make it home until after 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And then my father finally got tired of me showing up at the door really late at night and kind of told me, look, if you're going to be in my house, you're going to follow my rules, right? And if you don't want to follow my rules, then you don't have to be in my house. And my pride got the best of me, and I said, well, I don't need your house. And I guess it would be called running away, but I just left. And at that time, I was only 13, 14 years old.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And so I found myself out in the streets by myself at 13, 14, kind of bouncing from friend to friend's house, from couch to couch. And that's how I kind of got caught up in the selling dope, figuring out what it was, because my parents didn't raise me that way. I had two really good parents who really wanted me to do well in school and wanted me to do well in life. But I mean, I got caught up in the wrong scenes.
Yeah, it can happen. Mm-hmm. And so, what did you do after high school? Did you graduate from high school? Did you move on?
I did not graduate from high school. I found, because of the people I was hanging out with, a friend of mine, we found ourselves running from an attempted murder charge.
Oh.
We got into it with somebody at the time. I was 15, 16. And a guy had put his hands on me. And so me and the guy, we got into a fight. And then my friend jumped in, and me and my friend fighting this one guy. He was 38. We were underage, and we beat him pretty bad. And while he was in the hospital fighting for his life, detectives were looking for us, coming up to my school, going to my home, and so I ran.
Mm-hmm. That must have been frightening as heck.
It was. It was scary.
How did you resolve that?
Well, thank God that it was a bunch of witnesses that seen him put his hands on us first. When they finally did catch up to us, we turned ourselves in. It was a bunch of witnesses that had came forth that said that he had grabbed me, put his hands on me. Yeah, actually grabbed me from behind and caught himself trying to choke me from behind. Oh. And the fact that I was a minor and underage, and so a lot of those factors played in a place. I think I received some type of probation or something, but I never ended up going to jail.
Oh. So you got another chance.
I got another chance, slap on the wrist. Yeah.
And then how'd you move on from there?
Well, from there, my life just kind of started spiraling downhill. I had no guidance. My mom, my dad, my parents, the people that I needed in my life, I had completely abandoned and ran away from. And I call myself living life on my own, trying to make decisions as a young man, right, with no real life experience.
Oh.
Right? But, a lot of us at that time, we think we're grown.
Oh, yeah.
You think you're grown, you think you know what's best, and you really don't. And but I found myself out there alone, just trying to survive. And because of it, I was making a lot of mistakes that my father could have helped me navigate. My mother could have helped me navigate, but I didn't have that guidance. And so I was looking at people in the streets, which really didn't care about me, right? And they were making bad decisions too. And so here I was right alongside of them making a bunch of bad decisions, one after another, which led to me. When I was a young man, my parents used to tell us, you don't want to go to jail. You don't want to have a record. You don't want to have them put your name in pen. You don't want that to follow you throughout life, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't believe it. I thought I'm not you. Most kids do. I'm not you, and you don't know my life, and you don't know like I know, right? But that wasn't true. Eventually, I ended up getting a record. I ended up going to jail, spend a lot of years in this revolving door, in and out of jail, probation violations, serving time, and across different platforms in my life, I paid the price for that.
Once you're in that, it's darn hard to get out of that cycle. Mm-hmm. How did you do that? How did you break loose from that?
Well, I want to say it is, okay, let's say it is hard to get out of it, but in a way it's not. I think it comes down to making a decision to making some life decisions, some choices, some change. I spent 8 years from the age of 19 to the age of 27 years old, addicted to meth, in and out of jail, abandoning my daughter. At the time, I had only had one daughter. I just made a bunch of bad choices along the way. Let's say that, right?
Meth doesn't help you make good ones.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
When I was a youngster, it's one of the first things you learned about drug. Speed kills. Mm-hmm. And it kills your soul before it kills your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's what it was doing. It was tearing me down. And eventually one day I had heard about a program named Victory Outreach, hanging out with a bunch of drug addicts in the city of Fremont. I outside of a Motel 6. I paid it very little mind because I wasn't quite ready to give up on my addiction yet. I was still trying to figure out how I was gonna make it right? Um, and so I wasn't looking for help yet. So many years later after that, I had heard again hanging out with a bunch of different drug addicts in the city of Pittsburgh, no, Antioch. And while in Antioch, I'd heard the name Victory Outreach again, right? This was the second time that I heard drug addicts talking about this church and this program that you can go to where all people are accepted, no matter what background you come from, what gangs you come from, what color you are, all people are accepted. And I heard about it again, didn't pay it any mind because, again, I wasn't quite ready to walk away from my addiction and the lifestyle that comes with it. And then I knew I was at a breaking point, though. I was at a breaking point where it was getting around that time where it was going to be time for me to turn around. About a year or so later after that, I'm walking down the street and I find a flyer on the floor. And this flyer is for Victory Outreach.
Oh my.
Right? So to me, I feel like God was calling me, like he had been calling me. He had been tugging at my heart. And he had just been throwing in small signs to get me ready for what he was getting ready to do in my life. I finally got to a breaking point to where I didn't want to be high anymore. I'd reached the all-time low in my life. I never thought that I would be using a needle and putting a needle in my arm to take drugs, right? But I was. I never thought that I would be walking down the street with a shopping cart with all of my belongings in it, not knowing where I was going to eat, not knowing where I was going to take a shower, not knowing where I was going to rest my head at. I was lonely. I was alone, and I felt helpless, and I wanted help. And finally, one day, that flyer was probably what I needed the most. It was like, okay, Victory Outreach. I went looking for it, right? I ended up walking into a church in Pittsburgh. Now, this church was not Victory Outreach at all. And imagine, I had taken a shower, so I probably stinked. My clothes were dirty. My hair was dirty. I didn't look very well. I didn't look very trustworthy. And I walked into this church with a bunch of people, and I sat down in the back row. Nobody came and said hi to me. Nobody said anything to me. I eventually fell asleep during service, and when I woke up, service was over. The people that woke me up to tell me, hey, come on, it's time to leave. But nobody checked and see how I was doing. No one showed me the love of Christ. It was just it's time to leave. And on my way out, I said, is this Victory Outreach? And they said, no, this is not Victory Outreach, right? They didn't know where it was. They didn't know where to look. Now, I was in the right vicinity. The recovery home was down the street. It wasn't the church. And so I left from there and went back out to the streets again and got caught back up in the same pattern. One day I had just had my daughter. She was just born, and they took her from us. This is my second daughter. Now, my first daughter, I wasn't a really good father. I was a deadbeat dad because of my addiction. And now here I am bringing another young girl into the world, a baby into the world, and I'm messing up still, right? And it was eating me up on the inside. And I sat on the side of a store in Antioch, and not far from where the Dollar General is, next to the city park, if anybody who's listening may be familiar with that area. And all I can think is that, man, I don't want this to be my life for the rest of my life. I remember looking around and seeing friends of mine who were living life. They're having cars, they're having homes, they're raising families. Everybody's growing up, and I seem to be stuck in place. You know what I mean? And it was challenging, man. It was scary because I felt like the world was passing me by, and I didn't know what to do to get out of my slump. I didn't know who to go to, who to get help from. I was just stuck. And I remember sitting on the side of this liquor store, this corner store, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, man, I don't want to die this way. I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this and then die out here like this. And so I walked from that store. I walked all the way down to the city park and went into the Dollar General. And I sat in the bathroom, locked the door, and I began to fix me a shot. right? I was gonna, you know, take a shot. And as I was doing that, man, the thought came back to me again. I don't want to die like this. I don't want to die like this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life. I am tired of living this way. And for the first time in 8 years, because if anybody who has done methamphetamines, you know that it's almost impossible to feel, right? It's impossible to really have some genuine emotions. So I hadn't cried or felt any real genuine emotions because the whole purpose of me getting high was to run from my feelings, to run from responsibilities, right? And so my addiction was the very thing that numbed me. And so I'd been numb for 8 years. I hadn't cried over anything in 8 years. But for some reason, this day, it seemed like everything that I have been holding back in them 8 years finally came forward. I just started bursting in tears, sitting in that bathroom with a needle in my hand, and I just kept thinking to myself, I just want life to change. I want a chance to be more than what I am today. Right? I'm 19 years old. I've been struggling with addiction since I was 19. And even some before that, I was struggling with addiction. This is all I know. I've never had a chance. And now here I am, almost 27 years old. And this is all I know is my addiction. Man, I don't have a life. I never had a chance for life. Right? And I wept and I cried and I prayed and I said, God, if there's anything you can do to change my situation, I'm open. I'm open and I'm willing. I'm willing to do it. At that time, I was ready. I was ready for change. And so after that, of course, I fixed my shot, right? It's not like I had that breakthrough, but I guess I still wasn't done. I fixed my shot. I left out, and this is how quick he started working in my life. I am walking down A Street on my way up towards the Jack in the Box, and it's a 6-lane street with a divider. It's 3 lanes on one side, 3 lanes on the other side. I am on one side. The cop car is on the other side in the far lane. Cop I've never seen before. In Antioch, I had a reputation at that time for running. So if you were going to catch me, if you were going to take me to jail, you're going to have to catch me, right? I wasn't just going to surrender, right? I wasn't ready to surrender, so I would always run. They would have to catch me if they caught me, right? And this time, this cop, I don't even know how he recognized me. I had a black hoodie on with my head covered up, and I had my head down, and I was just walking down. Somehow he recognized me. He flipped a U-turn, pulled up from behind me, and he yelled out my name specific, Curtis Royster, right? Of course, I didn't look back. I kept walking, and everything in me is saying, run, take off running, because he's got to catch you, right? But this time, I didn't run. I stopped. I turned around and I surrendered. And from that point on, things started to turn around for me. I went to West County detention facility right here in Richmond, which is where I live right down the street from now. Right? I ended up going there, and while I was in there, I spent a lot of time praying, a lot of time going to their chapel, a lot of time just trying to find the help I needed. Eventually, I got a hold of Victory Outreach, and I told them that if I needed somewhere to go to when I got out of jail, because if I didn't, I was going to get caught up in the same revolving door. Eventually, I would just get out of here and go hang out with the same friends and eventually start using again. And before I know it, I'll be back down where I was at. And so they told me that I can come in. When I got out, I went in, and I never looked back after that. And I've been going forward ever since. So
it came that day you were just sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I was done, yes. I was done. And I think sometimes you have to hit the bottom before you start hoping that there's something better out there, right? I mean, it's sometimes you got to come to the end of your own decisions. You got to come to the end of yourself. And I I finally did come to the end of myself, I knew that my best thought had got me where I was at. And I needed some help, right? And so, yeah.
So at PCC, are you grabbing people as they're starting on their way back up, or are you watching them hit that bottom first? Who do you work with at PCC?
No, so I wish that there was somebody there who would have stepped in and intervened and who would have loved on me and cared enough about me to help me before I hit the bottom. PCC, we're not waiting for people to hit the bottom. We're not waiting for people to come to the end of themselves and do it alone. PCC is somewhere where they have peers, that we're in this with you. You're not by yourself. You don't have to isolate alone when you're dealing with mental health. There is a place where you can feel included and feel a part of a family, that we're in this together. And so we're working with a bunch of different people. I mean, it's a privilege to be able to love on some of the members that we have that come in there and be able to see myself in a lot of those members, right? Something I noticed while being a part of PCC that I think is really, really funny. They say, okay, because PCC, we deal with people and we're in the mental health field. But I noticed that a lot of our members, they appreciate some of the simple things. The simple things is what's important to them. And some of the hangups that the so-called normal people have, they just don't have. They enjoy life in a way that I think that a lot of people don't. All right. And so I laugh about that because I say, man, I don't know who has the mental health. Is it them or is it the so-called normal people? Right. But yeah, we have a privilege with loving on people and working with people before they necessarily have to hit the bottom.
So at PCC, some people are recovering from drug and some people from other things. What kind of a population do you have at the PCC?
So the majority of our members they're dealing with mental health. And some of our members, may be recovering from drugs. Now, I haven't had any members who have shared with me that they've dealt with meth or anything like that. So far, we've had members who have struggled with marijuana, right? Which probably isn't really good for some of their mental health diagnoses, right? Mm-hmm. But the majority of the people that we do deal with so far has been in as far as their mental health.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So on an average day, average being a very loose term as we know, because no day is like any other. But what are the kinds of things? What's an average day at a PCC for you?
So an average day at PCC is the members often show up around 9:15, but we try to get there. I try to get there as early as 8 to prepare for the members to come in, create an atmosphere. We try to have soothing music on, playing in the background. We serve breakfast early in the morning. We have a Let's Connect where we go around the room and all the members in the room are able to tell us how their day was, what they did the day before, what they had for lunch, maybe some of their challenges. And it's good because it's an open table conversation. And so amongst maybe anywhere from 18 to 22 people, we are able to have an open table conversation where there is a lot of laughing. We have a lot of good times during our Let's Connect. And the members are able to share what their day was like, the prior day was like. After that, we take a break, and then we come back for what we call our Pathworks. Now, our Pathworks is where we as peers, as the peer coaches, we get teachings and trainings together which is mainly focused around the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so we can focus on anxiety, depression. We can focus on physical or financial, the aspect of the dimensions. And we do teachings and trainings to kind of help them in any area that they may need help in.
So maybe anything from getting their checkbook balance, to use an archaic term, but still getting their financial stuff in order, to doing laundry. That
Yes.
kind of a
Yes. Yes.
spread.
Yes. Teaching them consistency. Um, Helping them in their personal life. Like if they need to, say we have one young man, he wants to get a psychiatrist. He wants to get a therapist. Okay, well, we're going to help you walk through those steps to get you that therapist. Say if you want to, well, oh man, I really want to try to get my license so that I can become a little more independent. Well, we're going to walk you through the steps that it's going to take to get that license. Say I am having a hard time at home and I need advice. Well, we're going to give you the advice we can as best we can, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to make the decision yourself. And so we are there to stand side by side with you in some of life's choices.
We were talking earlier about you wanting to expand media presence, maybe starting podcasting and things like that. What are those kinds of plans you're looking at doing out at the PCCs?
And so we already are getting ready to start a podcast at the our Antioch East County branch with Cameron, man. He's an incredible guy, man, and Jamal, which he's here, but you guys can't see him, okay?
He's doing audio.
Yeah, he's doing.
Yes.
But yeah, so we do want to start a podcast, and I just want to be a part of it. Now, this isn't something that's like it's not my expertise. But again, like you were saying earlier, you want to learn a little bit of everything, right? And I really feel like if I surround myself with the right people, and I surround myself with people who are knowledgeable about these things, then I can learn it. And if I learn it, then maybe I can help be a part of giving birth to the podcast at PCC.
You should. One of the things we've learned here is that a lot of our members wind up getting a lot themselves, much to their own surprise, out of doing a testimony, out of being on a podcast, that just actually telling everybody, here's my story. Mm-hmm. It really helps them feel more centered and more connected to other people, which really helps.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, this was Curtis, our good friend from PCC, come today to visit us on Connected, and we look forward, maybe we'll be a guest on his one of these days. Mm-hmm. Anyway, thank you very much. We look forward to having you again on one of our episodes of Connected.
Thank you for having me.